There was a lot of awful DC Multiverse releases in 2023, and, well, it's pretty hard to find the best of this year, but even a broken clock is right twice a day, so we found them, and we're going to talk about them today, guys. Be sure you stick around to the end because we're going to talk about our honorable mention before we get to number one for today. The fifth best DC Multiverse action figure of 2023 is Mr. Freeze. This one didn't have a lot of paint on it, but the sculpt was really nice, and this is one of the last really good sculpts that I remember seeing from DC Multiverse in recent memory, before we started seeing a lot of reuse across the line, and there's some really positive things going on here, like the ice effect on his gun is really nice. The details across the entire sculpt feel like they're very appropriate for Mr. Freeze. This looks like Mr. Freeze inside of his cold suit, and that's really the most important thing you can get from it. Plus, the head sculpt is just classic Mr. Freeze all around. It's not the greatest action figure in the world, but I do think it's one of the better ones that McFarlane Toys put out this year, and it's one where the sculpt is definitely carrying it. The fourth best DC Multiverse action figure of 2023 is the Joker from the Dark Knight Trilogy wave. This was one of the most anticipated waves that I think we've ever seen from DC Multiverse, and it did land with somewhat of a wet thud because there were some QC issues across the wave, but the one I think stood out above all others was Heath Ledger's Joker, so much so that we saw several different variations of him, including the bank robber version of him and the interrogation room playset version of him. And when you get down to brass tacks, this is a really nice action figure that captures the look of Heath Ledger's Joker and the essence of the character. There's definitely a few paint apps missing here and there, but at the price point and with the level of detail, I think they've managed to capture a good balance here and make a satisfactory action figure. Plus, with all the revisions that we see with each release, he just keeps getting better and better. The third best DC Multiverse action figure of 2023 was Michael Keaton's Batman from the 1989 Batman and Batmobile 2-pack that was an Amazon exclusive. This one was an absolute dumpster fire of a release with a lot of issues surrounding it, but nevertheless, this was a really nice action figure with some pristine sculpting, very cool details, and undeniably, it was one of the DC Multiverse action figures to own in 2023. When I played with this one, I couldn't help but be taken by the quality of the details that I saw, as well as the articulation present in him, which was much greater than you might expect for a DC Multiverse action figure. Even the Batmobile he came with I thought was very accurate to the source material, and I found it to be a very satisfactory package for the price point. $75 was kind of a lot of money, but when you get down to how big the Batmobile was, as well as the quality of Michael Keaton's Batman, it sort of makes sense then. And if there were any DC Multiverse releases to own in 2023, then this was one of them. The second best DC Multiverse release of 2023 was Collector's Edition Firestorm. This one was based on his Crisis on Infinite Earths appearance, and it was absolutely one of the best releases of this year. This one came with a fully loaded package, I thought. He came with several sets of extra hands, as well as some special effects, and plus, the sculpt on him was just good. A lot of DC Multiverse action figures these days tend to just use the Blue Beetle body if they're doing more of a classic sculpt, but this one, you can tell they went the extra mile to make him actually look like the source material. This is Firestorm. This isn't just hand-me-downs, this is actually Firestorm, and it belongs to Firestorm. If more releases from DC Multiverse were like Firestorm here, I think I'd have a lot more nicer things to say about the line, because this action figure is outstanding and the work that they put into it is exemplary. Really hoping that we see more releases like this in 2024. If you support what I do, please click subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss a single video of mine when it comes out. And if you're enjoying this best DC Multiverse of 2023 video, please give it a like, guys, because these are tough to put together and I really appreciate it. And now, before we get to our number one DC Multiverse release of 2023, our honorable mention this year goes to Batwoman, which is kind of a surprise, but this one was a really nice release that was put out in a 3-pack with the Rebirth Batman and Rebirth Clayface of all things. But This is a really nice action figure with a sculpt that is apparently all original, and the details on it when you look at this one are truly astounding. There's a lot of little things happening on this one, like the stitching on her costume, and the hair flowing all over the mask, and the cape fluttering in the wind. This is such a good release that it kind of warrants a single release in my mind, instead of just being packaged in a 3-pack. Much like Batman, she also comes with her own accessories, including her own batarang and a grappling hook. And all in all, I think it comes out to a worthy package that any DC collector would be proud to own. I'm really hoping that this one sees a standard release at some point, because it's good enough that I think it warrants it, instead of just being thrown in a random 3-pack. And at the very least, it does deserve a little bit of recognition as being one of the better pieces that we saw released this year. And finally, our number one DC Multiverse action figure of 2023 should be no great surprise, but it is Knightfall Batman. And this one is absolutely the slam dunk release of the entire year. This one is one of the action figures to have from DC Multiverse. It is absolutely the best Batman action figure ever made by McFarlane Toys. Everyone who had even a passing interest in Batman wanted this action figure, and for good reason, because the articulation as well as the details are all perfect on this release. This is as close to a perfect Batman action figure as you can possibly get, really. And everything about this one hits the right notes, from the articulation to the sculpt, down to the color palette used on the action figure, which plays off of itself perfectly. If you don't already have Knightfall Batman, you should really try to get him, because he really is as good as everyone says he is, and this one, I don't know how he could get much better than this. Now he just needs a few more classic villains of the era to go along with him, and this is going to be such a joyful experience. Go check him out, guys. Well, Soulmates, what do you think about this top 5 DC Multiverse of 2023 list? Is this one that you mostly agree with? Do you have other ideas about what the best releases of the year were? Or maybe you don't think there were any good releases? I don't know, guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments, because I would love to hear from you. If you'd like to hear what the worst DC Multiverse releases of 2023 were, you can check out that video here, Soulmates.